All right, everybody. So this is going to be a little bit different. Going to be podcasting and putting this video on YouTube for everybody. For those of you that have been following everything that's been going on with CrossFit today, maybe you hadn't had a chance to catch up. Maybe everything you're reading is spotted here and there, and you're not really sure what all has happened. So we did put an article up on our website. You can find that at thefunctionaltimes.com. It explains a lot of what's going on, but a lot has happened since then. Since this is moving so quickly, I thought that maybe this would be a quicker way to be able to get all the information out, but we'll try to get it all up on our website as well as our Instagram at thefunctionaltimes. But it all started everything with headquarters, let's say that, started yesterday when the CEO of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, tweeted in response to let's see here, I'm going to make sure I get it right, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. They posted, "Racism is a public health issue." Greg Glassman's response in a tweet was, "It's Floyd 19. Obviously, a lot of people took offense to that tweet, rightly so, making light or joking. I don't really know what the idea behind tweeting that was, but he's referring to George Floyd, of course, the man that was murdered in Minnesota when a white police officer, held his knee down on George Floyd, an African American's neck. Everybody's probably familiar with that, but if you are not, that's kind of where it all started. So then followed up, and I'm actually looking up some of my own information here because there's been so much. I want to make sure that I'm getting it all out properly. So Glassman then followed up this morning, and this is in response again to the organization, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. Your failed model quarantine us, and now you're going to model a solution to racism, ? George Floyd's brutal murder sparked riots nationally. Quarantine alone is accompanied in every age and under all political regimens by an undercurrent of suspicion, distrust, and riots. Thanks, ! End quote. So it wasn't just the initial tweet. If that wasn't enough, followed up by this tweet as well. Take that into account with the email that was shared, brought to light to Rocket CrossFit. That is a really, really long email. We won't read all of that here, but the main part of that has garnered most of the attention. This was in response to the owner, I believe, of Rocket CrossFit, who's now actually Rocket Community Fitness. They have since unaffiliated or disaffiliated. I'm not really sure. Some people are using both words there. I'm not sure what's the correct terminology. But Alyssa had written what I would say, in my opinion, was a very well thought out email surrounding COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter. And I guess to backtrack a little bit, I think some of the unrest within the CrossFit community with headquarters and Glassman was a little bit around the silence and not speaking out enough about what's happening in our country with inequality, with racism, with the Black Lives Matter movement. So Alyssa had written a very well thought out email, and the response I will read. It's short enough, I think, that and important enough that we can read that here. So it says, "Alyssa, I sincerely believe the quarantine has adversely impacted your mental health." All right, to start out, to anybody saying that is mind-blowing, much less an affiliate that from the email chain, from the blog on Rocket CrossFit, on their website. It just seems like somebody that have known each other for a long time. So to me, in my personal opinion, that's just disrespectful to start out any conversation that way. He goes on, Glassman goes on, I won't speak for Jeff Kane, but I can tell you that you are delusional in thinking that anyone even for a second thought that you were the conscience of CrossFit. The very notion is cringeworthy. This is rough, people. So you think you're more virtuous than we are. It's disgusting. Your self-professed brand wizardry has been tolerated, but never seen as actually thoughtful or effective, but certainly manipulative. You're doing your best to brand us as racist, and you know it's bull honky. I'm not going to say the other word there. Sorry for my Southern euphemism there. That makes you a really, again, crappy person. He didn't use the word crappy. Do you understand that? You've let your politics warp you into something that strikes me as wrong to the point of being evil. I am ashamed of you. Great. A lot to break down there. Again, I can't get into people's minds. None of us can, but the words there seem pretty clear. Not sure what there is left to doubt. Obviously, to me, that's extremely disrespectful. I can't imagine anybody talking to me that way, much less the CEO of a brand that I'm affiliated with, hence the unaffiliation, I guess. So those are the two things that kind of kicked everything off. The third major thing was the group text with some of the misfit athletes, Jessica Griffith, Travis Williams, Chandler Smith, and others. We'll get into that here in a little bit. I want to stay focused on the main topic that's really developing still. So since the tweet, since the email, Reebok actually came out and said that they had ended negotiations. It had been 10 years, 10-year contract between CrossFit Games and Reebok was up, but they apparently were negotiating to have something happen in the future. That is no longer the case. So this is here from Yahoo News. Reebok ends partnership with CrossFit after insensitive George Floyd Twitter comment. So let's see, this is the quote from Reebok. Our partnership with CrossFit headquarters comes to an end later this year. Recently, we've been in discussions regarding a new agreement. However, in the light of recent events, we've made the decision to end our partnership with CrossFit headquarters. We will fulfill our remaining contractual obligations in 2020. We owe this to CrossFit Games competitors, fans, and community. So that says a lot. Then the other major brand, if you will, and many brands, Noble released a statement, but the two that actually came out and took the hardest stand, in my opinion, was what you just read, and then Rogue Fitness. So of course we have the Rogue Invitational that is about to happen later this month, and Rogue made the following statement on the Rogue Invitational Instagram page. Rogue does not support the latest statements made by the CrossFit CEO, Greg Glassman. His comments are unacceptable under all conditions. The community is bigger than one person. The movement is stronger than one person. No one should be expected to tolerate anything that keeps us from moving forward as one. Effective immediately. 1. Rogue Invitational will remove the CrossFit logo from the 2020 event. We will only allow discussion of the sanctioning with real discussion on the future. 2. Rogue will work with CrossFit Games leadership to determine the best path forward. We will fulfill the 2020 season for the athletes and the community. The future is dependent on the direction and leadership within CrossFit headquarters. Rogue has been an equipment provider since 2010 and believe it's part of our DNA. We hope there is a path forward. We stand behind the community. So a lot of people have been talking about, asking, I've seen comments a lot saying, well, just get rid of him. It's time for him to go, referring to Glassman. And I don't know if maybe everybody does not understand that CrossFit is a private company. So it's not a publicly held company. There's not shareholders. There's not a board that can vote Glassman out. I think there's some misunderstanding around that. He owns the company. He is the CEO. It is his. So unless he willingly steps down or sells, he's still going to be the CEO. He has unfortunately obviously made some bad comments and mistakes, if you want to call it that, but has done nothing illegal. And I'm not trying to belittle what he said by any means, not at all. It was horrible. He should have never, in my opinion, made those statements. No one should have. It's unacceptable. But it is still his company. And I just think that people need to understand that moving forward, which is why you've seen the reaction that we have that I want to talk about next. And that is, aside from the brands, you have tons of affiliates that are unaffiliating, disaffiliating, de-affiliating. And so that list, I'm just going to name a few. The list is ever growing. We're going to try to get a list up on the website here within the next 24 hours or so for anybody that might want to know, what all affiliates have, unaffiliated. So just to name a few, Rocket CrossFit, which we mentioned earlier, the Brave One Gym, that is James Townsend, if you're familiar with him, stud athlete. CrossFit Polaris, that's Christy Aramo or O'Connell. I may have said her last name wrong there. NC Fit, Jason Kalipa. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of a few others. Justin Kotler, the head coach for USA Functional Fitness, came out and I believe said that they will be unaffiliating. But aside from that, he is also the coach for Carrie Pierce. And I'm checking Offshore Athletics is another one that has said that they are unaffiliating over in London. There was several, City Road Fitness, 1864 Fitness, Memorial Docks Fitness, Reebok CrossFit Times. Let's see. So the list again continues to go on and on. Let's see. What was the other one? There was another big one that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. Let me get to see if I can find that right quick. As I'm going, it's not just the affiliates that are talking about becoming unaffiliated. Let's see. Emily Bridges, her affiliate will not be there. Let's see. Danny Horn, her CrossFit. Chris Spieler, his is another one. Let's see, CrossFit Dark Side. So again, the list goes on and on and on. Turn Fitness down in Florida. Lynchpin, CrossFit Lynchpin, that's the other one I want to make sure that I noticed. So that one is powerful and because of the owner actually works at CrossFit headquarters. So that's another thing we haven't heard from many people at headquarters as far as what their stance is, who is still maybe going to back Glassman. If anybody, I don't know. We'll have to see. But one of the other things to notice out of this whole ordeal before we move on to athletes now that are actually backing out of the CrossFit Games is the lack of any communication still. So we are almost a full day into, it's 8:00 p.m. when I'm recording this Central Time. And there's still not been any apology, any statement, even if you're not going to apologize. As a business owner, I can't imagine just sitting idle as I see my whole business come crashing down around me. So that makes somebody wonder, is there an apology coming? Obviously at this point, I think many people would doubt the sincerity of it. If there's not, I would personally love to just know where does headquarters stand on everything. Will there even be a 2020 CrossFit Games, which is on to some other news. Just within the hour, Chandler Smith and Noah Olson, two CrossFit Games athletes that have been invited to the new 20-person only, or I guess 30-person only, CrossFit Games at the ranch in Aromas have backed out. So Chandler posted, "I'm out." Then a description. Let's see if I can get that description real quick for those of you who haven't had a chance to see it. Noah Olson did the same thing. Chandler and Noah, I don't know them personally, but from social media, they seem to be close friends. So it's came as no surprise once I saw Chandler back out that Noah Olson did as well. So this is what Chandler, who I have a lot of respect for personally. Again, don't know him, just video, social media, talking to friends that do know him personally. Seems like an outstanding guy. So until the changes to CrossFit are made, this is Chandler Smith, by the way, quote, "I will not be participating in the 2020 games. I have yet to speak on anything going on for fear of retribution and must remain apolitical due to the nature of my job." For those of you who don't know, I believe he is a captain, if I'm not mistaken, in the Army. He's part of the Army Warrior Fitness team. Check him out if you don't know what's going on there. Anyways, the decision puts me at a very vulnerable position with both my work and my desired future as a CrossFit Games athlete. However, I do not believe choosing to avoid participation in this year's event is a violation of my duties to my job, to the sport, or to my ethics. I hope that others will join me in applying pressure to headquarters in order to improve the organization we love and make it better going forward. I can, let's see, looks like he is actually doing a quote here. "I can find joy only if I do my work in the best way possible for me. But the best is a matter of standards, and I set my own standards. I inherit nothing. I stand at the end of no tradition. I may perhaps stand at the beginning of one." So big statement there by Chandler. I was just curious to see if Noah's had a statement along with it. I'm sure it did. Says, "My participation in the 2020 games will be contingent upon major changes being made. I love competing. I love training. I love being able to challenge myself and become better from it. I also love people. It's probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make. It's been weighing on me for days. I've consulted many of my closest supporters. All of that said, I've decided that I cannot, in good conscience, compete during this time for a company that hasn't shown themselves to have the values I align with. I've been talking a lot about this movement and my strong desire to stand up and fight for equality. Right now, I'm taking action. The repercussions of this could be huge. I've weighed them, and my belief is stronger than their potential outcomes." So, the other thing that I think that people need to consider when everybody's just saying, "Oh, I just, unaffiliate, don't go to CrossFit Games," whatever they may be saying. I think it's easy as an outsider, as somebody that's just a bystander or maybe just loves CrossFit to say those things. But I can tell you as a small business owner that this is their income, this is their livelihood. So I think it's great that these affiliates, these athletes are standing up and standing for what they believe in over just worrying about the money. But this again is our livelihoods, and a lot of affiliates are still hurting. They had to close down due to COVID-19. So some of them may never open again. Some of them have already closed down for good. But now to take the risk of what does my future as a gym look like without CrossFit, they're put in a hard situation either way. So for those that maybe want to remain still, just out of fear, they may run customers off or potential customers off because of their name and their connection to CrossFit. And then again, some of those that unaffiliate, they may run the same risk. But these owners are making hard decisions. I don't envy them on that. And then again, somebody like Noah Olson, he is, from what I understand, a full-time games athlete, which means his livelihood, his income comes from competition. What's the biggest prize money pocket out there? The CrossFit Games. So by bowing out of that, he could be jeopardizing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So is money everything? No. Do you have to have it to survive? Unfortunately, yes. So again, for him to step out and to say that he's out without knowing what repercussions those may hold, good for him. Bravo. I wish him the best. These developments are literally continuing, like as we speak, I'm checking Instagram, just trying to see what all is being said. Another big name that has came out and spoke was Rich Froning. He did not explicitly state that they would unaffiliate. However, he made it clear that he was against Glassman's comments and that the future of CrossFit Mayhem, one of the most well-known and oldest affiliates, is in jeopardy. So it will be interesting to see what others like him do. Okay, so now Christy O'Connell just said, I'm out. So she's out as well. She will not be going to the CrossFit Games this year. So the dominoes keep falling. Again, this is all happening as we speak. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to jump on here and go ahead and get this podcast out, get this video out. There's a lot of confusion. The other thing, I don't even know if it's relevant enough to talk about in the middle of this. No, you know what? I'm not going to go there. If you're interested in learning more about the whole text thing with Jessica and Travis and all that, I think that at this point, that's not as important. That's not as relevant. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to the Functional Times. There is an article on that. If you have questions, or if you do want to hear more, if you want to hear a podcast on that, if you want to see a video on that, let us know. Shoot us a message, leave a comment, send us an email to functionaltimes@gmail.com, and we can do another one on that. But all the information is there on the website. It's unfortunate what happened there, disappointing, to say the least, for some athletes that I know a lot of people look up to. There have been apologies. Make sure I'm clear on that. So check out that story if you want, but I don't want to focus on that here. I think that what we've talked about is a major thing. So we'll have to see. Again, we're not even 24 hours out. We're going to have a list up of affiliates that are no longer going to be affiliated with CrossFit. Try to keep that updated. So if you know of one, if you are an affiliate owner, if you are unaffiliating, then shoot us a message again, Instagram, an email, whatever's easiest. Drop a comment down on the YouTube channel and let us know. We'll get you updated on the list for those that want to follow that. Also, I want to mention this, and let me kind of upfront state, I have no affiliation whatsoever with the International Functional Fitness Federation, but the organization, a lot of people are saying, well, let's rename CrossFit to Rogue Fit or come up with another name for CrossFit for the sport that we love. It's functional fitness. That's the sport that everybody loves. It's CrossFit is the name brand, functional fitness is the sport. The International Functional Fitness already has the framework for the sport to go to the Olympics, for the sport to continue. It has standards. It's more or less, it is the same sport without the name brand. So think of it maybe like you would, Coca-Cola versus generic soda. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad way of comparing the two, but essentially the framework again is there. They've already had multiple world championships within the International Functional Fitness Federation. Many CrossFit Games athletes, our competitors, have competed, will continue to compete within that framework. So if you're somebody going, well, what about the CrossFit Games, or what about the competition side of things? Check them out. I think that many people will find that the structure is there. It's not a one-man operation. It's not a brand, it's a sport like soccer or football or other things that are sports. It has the framework, it has a board of directors. I'm trying to think of what else is important to mention there. But the structure is there for the sport to continue competitively as well as worldwide. So if for whatever reason, and this I don't think is going to happen, but CrossFit closes their doors tomorrow, it's done. Okay, the structure is already there for an international competition of functional fitness, for a governing body of the sport is even trying to get it into the Olympics. We did a podcast on that a couple of months ago. Should CrossFit be in the Olympics? It was in response to another podcast that had mentioned why it shouldn't be. And that was Ben Bergeron. It was a short 2 minutes talking about why CrossFit shouldn't be in the Olympics. We addressed that with the International Functional Fitness Federation founder, Gretchen Kittelberger. So if you want more information on that, you can check out that podcast. It was like podcast number 4. But again, you can find that, Google it, check on the website, scroll through the podcast back to the beginning, first few. And I think that's really all that I wanted to cover. Again, if you guys have more questions, have anything else, let us know. We're happy to cover it. We'll continue updating you with information as we get it. Have a good night. Stay safe. Be nice. Stand up for what you know is right. And I think things will work out. That's it.